So guys, I used to sell these, but like on Amazon. But I've kind of closed down my Amazon store. I really like it. But the whole Amazon stuff was a little too stressful for me, so I just kind of let it go. But anyway, welcome to my channel. This is essentially just about me testing myself in terms of like putting myself a little bit more out there. I used to be I am a very shy person, and I used to be afraid of like putting myself out there in terms of seeing my face, hearing my voice. But I've always wanted to create YouTube videos. Whether this gets little to no views, I know it's not like everything is not like aesthetically what usually catches people attention, and that drives the whole 100,000 views or millions of views. But here is more of a homey chatty type of vibe. So that's essentially the theme that I'm going for. So very much small, like talking. Anyway, I really want to talk about like for immigrants that come from a different country and into a new Western world, and especially at a very young age, because I moved to the States and then Canada at a very young age. And the loss of language. I don't know if some of you have experienced that before. For example, I come from Senegal. I was born there. I was there till I was maybe 6 or 7 years old, and then I moved to the US. So essentially, I grew up in the Western world, or West, or, you know, North America. However, unfortunately, I forgot my language. I forgot it in a sense that I do not know how to speak my language, Wolof and Serer. Um, and even French fluently. So this is very bad because I now, like, sometime when I go visit Senegal to go visit my, let's say, my grandma or my family members or whoever it may be, it's hard for me to communicate with them. Like, I have something in a sense of like I could understand it, and my understanding is that of like a 6 7 year old in terms of vocabulary. So let's say people are talking in Wolof or Sarah. I have the vocabulary of a 6 to 7 year old, so I understand it. But I have a hard time um, talking back, like replying. I don't know if it's because I haven't practiced or it doesn't come naturally to me to, let's say, conjugate words or just let the words come out. I don't know if this this makes sense, but yeah, unfortunately, I've lost my language, which makes it harder to connect with friends and family back home. So obviously, like most of them don't speak English. So when I go there, I'm like mixing my French with my Wolof, with my Serer. I'm like mixing three languages together to try to make my point across. Sometimes it's understood, sometimes they just laugh. But when they laugh, I don't take it too personally. Or matter of fact, I don't even take it personally at all. But the whole process of moving when you were young into a new country, assimilating yourself into that new country, and then essentially like just losing a part of you, like losing the language, which is a big form of connection in terms of where you come from. It's basic, but it's also extremely important. So I think about that sometimes, which then goes it goes into a much deeper thing, to be honest. Like, for example, let's say I have kids, right? I wouldn't be able to teach them my I wouldn't be able to teach them Wolof, Serer, or even French, because it's not something I understand properly enough to teach them, unless the person that I marry um is able to speak those languages, hence transferred over to the kids. But those are like thoughts that I think about sometimes, yeah, so for me, I think that for those that are able to like maintain their language even at a young age, and you might even wonder like, how did you lose your language? Like, how did this even happen? To be honest, like when I grew up in the States, so when I moved there when I was like what, 7 or 8 years old, I remember my parents, and I'm not blaming them at all, but I remember my parents telling me like in the house, only English, we only want to hear English, I guess because our English was bad. So but the more we learned English, the more, and I say we because of my brother as well, but anyway, back to me. The more I learned English, the more I forgot my natural tongue, like my natural language, like my mother tongue. The more I forgot it, unfortunately, like the more English kind of overtook it and overpowered my mother language. So and then, as we grow older, I've noticed how important French is, not just like in Canada, but also like not just like communicating with family back home, but like also in job opportunities. It's something I forgot. And some people say, oh, you could still learn the language, but I find it harder to learn as an adult. I find it harder to enhance or learn a new language. But yeah, it's this is just a very small video, but it's something that kind of goes through my mind sometimes, and it makes me feel like, will I lose connection to my own country because I don't speak the language? But I do know that when I do go back home, when I do go back to Senegal, even if I'm like in a market or talking to strangers or family members, I do try my best to recall languages, like certain words, to really communicate with them. Sometimes it goes through, sometimes it doesn't, but that's the whole part of the process. But sometimes I think to myself, if I was to go back to Senegal, let's say for 2 years or something, I feel like my Serer, my Wolof, and even potentially French would like really, really go up. And this is slightly different because then I'm like immersed into the culture, I'm immersed into the country, rather than like here in Canada where it's mainly English, where people on the streets or things you're searching online, you're not forced to recognize a different language. It's English, right? um but yeah, that's just something short that I wanted to share with you. Again, my channel is just a challenge for myself to put myself a little bit more out there, um, and hear my voice and do something that I've always wanted to do, whether this reaches to my audience, whether this reaches to certain people that know where I'm coming from or that connect with what I'm talking about. I hope it reaches those audience, but if it doesn't, I totally understand. But yeah, but I'm sure I'm not the only one this has happened to, in terms of like losing your language and trying to reconnect back to it, or hoping that you don't lose it forever. And also, I know, like I said, I was gonna close off, but I purposely watch Senegalese shows to kind of help with the language maintenance, if that makes sense. So I purposely watch, let's say, sitcoms or movies or their shows or even news that is mainly in French, to kind of help recall the language. In Wolof, it's mainly Wolof anyway, with a mixture of French, and I find that to help. I do, so I try to do that, like especially Saturday mornings. I try to do that for sure. But anyway, thanks for stopping by. Please like and subscribe. If you like it, awesome. If you don't, that's still good. It's no worries. Just simply thank you for watching. But yeah, that's what I wanted to share for the day. Take care. Bye.